Here you go.
Great. Okay, so everyone should have access to the course website at this point. And if you go over to the assignments tab, you should find assignment 1 here. It will be due July 8th at midnight. And if you click that, it will take you to this GitHub repository. And you can ignore the README. All you really need for this assignment is the assignment 1 IPython notebook and the Mozart dice game folder, which has a collection of MIDI files. So I'm not sure how many people have used Jupyter Notebooks before for this course, but basically you can download Anaconda online, and after a quick install, you can just run Jupyter Notebook or Jupyter in the command prompt, or if you are on Windows, you can go to Start and open Jupyter, and it should bring you to this nice directory, and you can navigate over to the notebook, open it, and waiting for Zoom to finish up here. There we go. You can get this notebook open, and within these notebooks, you can run every cell. Got some chat messages. This is not currently loaded onto the UCSD Data Hub, so it would be better if you could run it locally. But if you have some reason that you can't run it locally, do send me an email and we can work something out. So when you get to this notebook, please start by filling in your name and student ID so we can grade. And the instructions are here at the top. I've been adding to it based on some of the questions asked on Piazza. And so basically, the assignment is meant to let you run through some quick exercises without doing too much of the coding yourself, but there will be some segments that you will code. Others, you're just looking at demonstrations, looking at graphs, and starting to get a feel, get your hands on some of these concepts we've been talking about. Please do all of your work individually the best you can. Obviously, you're welcome to use Python references online to look up certain functions, but the usual honor code applies to this assignment. The first portion is the Mozart dice game, which we haven't covered yet in class, but will soon. And the idea behind this is that you're going to be generating your own music sequence using probability and using dice rolls in particular. So in this first cell here, I've included a few quick ways we can manipulate MIDI. All you'll really need to do for this one is stitch multiple MIDI files together, which can be complicated, but Music 21 has a nice library that helps us do this quickly. So this is just a quick demo up here of how you can stitch together 2 MIDIs and output a third MIDI with the 2 combined. And then what's also included, this is now relevant to the actual Mozart dice game composition you'll be making. This is a collection of 2 sets of 8 bars. And you're going to be composing a simple minuet. And really the only routine you'll be doing is for each of these rows, you're going to be randomly selecting one of these MIDI files to play. And then you're going to stitch all these together, and that's your composition. So this is, again, just generating music using probability. And anytime you see question, that's the space for you to do your work. Left room in the cell, you can make this really free-form. Any way you want to code this, feel free. The thing you'll be graded on is whether it works and gives the right type of output, which should be a pleasant-sounding 16-bar piece. In this next section, we'll start to introduce the Fourier transform and the discrete Fourier transform matrix. And for this question, question 2, the only portion that you're expected to do is to take a look at this mathematical definition of the discrete Fourier transform matrix. And this is to practice basically converting a mathematical formula into code using NumPy, SciPy. And yeah, so it should be very short, just a few lines down here, practicing putting this equation into code. After that, you'll get to take a look at the output when you take the discrete Fourier transform of a signal. And then question 3, conceptual, you'll just discuss what you're seeing in that graph. In the next question, question 4, you're going to apply that matrix that you implemented above to a signal. And like we discussed today, we'll be using sinusoids as a basic starting point for a lot of sounds, but we can obviously apply these techniques to more full musical examples. To start with, we'll just look at them applied to a sine wave. And again, question 4 is code, question 5 is your observations. Then we'll start to cover spectrograms, which is a different way of visualizing the collection of frequencies over time instead of just at a single instance. And for these, you'll get the chance to work with some of your own sound files. So if you could take a moment to record a vowel sound using Audacity or any other free software that you find that you like, you'll go ahead and use that here. Are we allowed to run it on DataHub? Yeah, again, so if you want to upload it to DataHub yourself and use it there, feel free. We haven't set up a course DataHub yet for this site, excuse me, for this course. So if you run things locally, that might be easiest for now. You're welcome to use Colab, DataHub, whatever is convenient for you to run the notebooks. Anyways, for question 6, you'll be recording your own mono wave file and then analyzing it as a spectrogram. This one's pretty short and sweet. You're just going to create your sound file, practice running it in the notebook, and then take the magnitude of the fast Fourier transform of your file. Question 8 is again conceptual. This is based on some of the things we talked about during lecture. When we get to question 9, same idea here. You're going to be uploading your file and then analyzing it for its spectrogram, and then discussing the output you see. And the final question is a bit more of a challenge. This one is spectrogram inversion using spectral amplitude. So the idea here is we're going to be reconstructing, we're going to take a sound file that we create, and we're going to remove some of the information from it, and then try to recreate that information, in particular the phase, using the method of Griffin and Lim. I included a paper here that has the algorithm outlined in pseudocode. So your job will be to take that pseudocode algorithm and then put it, realize it in Python. And after your realization, you'll be able to look at the output and observe that it should come close, but not perfect, to recreating the original signal. And that's all for assignment 1. Do we think we can do the Fourier transform part of the homework without it being covered in lecture first? That's a good question. There are parts of this assignment that would be easier after seeing it in lecture. There are parts that you could get started on now without having seen it in lecture. So I would say hold off on the Fourier transform maybe for a day until we get one more lecture in. But do look through the homework and start looking at the parts that you can finish now. And I think with that, if there are any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them now.
So if I may just add a comment related to the question. Yeah, we're a little bit, well, I already see that we are ambitious or happy in terms of, putting so much material and thinking that we'll cover everything in an hour. So we're already pretty much, one class behind. So I will adjust, the syllabus a little bit. So we will cover Fourier transform. Hopefully we'll get to this maybe tomorrow, or yeah, because it's already Tuesday and you probably want to get started. So I might do a very brief scan through the materials that I was planning as lecture 2, which are related to the Mozart dice game. So I'll show the slides and we'll put the slides, but then I'll try kind of to catch up a little bit so you can get started on something that might look a little bit more intimidating, that Fourier transform that has equation in it. Frankly, if you just take this for its face value in some sense, or the equation value, right? I mean, it's all written there. So if you are comfortable enough, the only thing there is that these are complex numbers. But if you are able to just translate this equation to Python code, that's your Fourier transform. That's your discrete Fourier transform. That's the easiest way to look into Fourier transform as a matrix. But I will definitely cover that sooner than later. So maybe we'll switch a little bit the order, or we kind of maybe leave some of the slides and let you maybe catch up on them on your own, and without me spending, I mean, I enjoy going through them. It's fun stuff, but I think we want to kind of stick to the homework idea. So so I will try to make sure that you have everything. And the other thing is really, if you start doing this and you feel that some of the materials are you lacking, or maybe it was covered in the lecture too quickly, let us know. So we'll kind of adjust and bounce back and forth between the lecture notes in the way that will allow you to get started on the homework sooner than later.
And please post on Piazza often if you have any questions. That way we can all be discussing these concepts and try to help get to the bottom of some of these if there's any confusion on the questions. To answer Sadyam's question in the chat, please submit everything through Gradescope when you can. We don't have submissions open on Canvas, just on Gradescope. And if you have any questions on how to use that, again, go to Piazza and happy to help you out.
Yeah. I mean, I know that you probably got the Canvas announcement because the campus moved to it, but we decided just to, stick to the more traditional engineering classes ways. So just don't be confused because, yeah, if you submit it there, we don't check. We don't check that website, and we didn't open an assignment submission there. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you have the Piazza, you have the Gradescope, and you have the class website. And we'll also put the link to YouTube videos. That was to answer the question about having access to some of the videos. So, okay. I don't know. Yeah, so if all is fine, we'll see you tomorrow, same time, 9:30. And yeah, that's it. Well, thank you, Ross. Thank you, everybody. Okay. Yeah, there was. Okay.
Till
Okay,
tomorrow.
so I'm ending the recording of the class. Okay, thanks. Bye.